Da skal jeg få ønske velkommen til denne parallellstasjonen som på engelsk. For de av dere som ikke har fått med dere det, så har dere muligheten til å gå nå. Men det satser på at dere blir. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Margaret Franco. She's the Executive Director for Dell. She is here to talk about the on-demand workforce, accelerating performance with tablet solutions. So please welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, hopefully everyone can hear me. Well, good. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm here today to talk about the on-demand workforce. And I'll tell you a little bit funny story. So, you know, I live in the UK, and of course my children are home from school on summer break. And they ask me, well, Mommy, why are you going to Oslo? What are you going to do? And I said, well, you know, I'm going to go to Oslo, and I'm going to talk about the on-demand workforce. And both kids, they look at me like as if I have two heads, and they say, what is the on-demand workforce? And I said, well, you know, it's pretty simple. I mean, think about like employees and business people that are really happy and productive because they can access whatever they want, whenever they want, at any time. And they're still giving me that look, you know, the look of two heads. And then I say, okay, let me break it down a little bit. Think about how happy and productive and entertainment consumed you are when you get the ability to download any game you want onto your PC. And they're like, oh, I get it. That's the on-demand entertainment. It's the on-demand workforce. So in a nutshell, if you think about mobility and applications and what that can do for people, that's really what we call at Dell the on-demand workforce. And what I wanted to talk about is our approach about how we are working with customers to help unleash the on-demand workforce that can deliver real value for businesses. At the end of the day, that's the real benefit is ROI for businesses. So if you think about the evolution that's been changing in the technology landscape, I mean, we've all seen this for years. We know that there is the ability to be able to access information that makes you productive. And this is a change that is changing businesses forever. And actually, businesses need to be able to adapt to that change and be able to capture the technology in order to be able to drive true ROI for their business. In fact, just by enabling an employee to access applications and any personal device that they need, a business can capture up to 240 hours of productivity per worker per year. 240 hours of productivity, now that's real business ROI. And you think about what has changed in the consumer marketplace. When you think about what are the fundamental changes that are really creating this opportunity, there's three of them. The first one is, as we all know, we've all seen, and we've spent a lot of time in conferences like these and in other areas, is the explosion of mobile devices. We see multiple form factors out there in the industry. And in fact, just last year, 1.2 billion shipments of smartphones have shipped. By 2016, there will be 107 million tablets in the marketplace. That's one tablet for every 10 people on the globe. The second big trend that's creating this opportunity for businesses is pervasive networks. Imagine, by 2017, 4.27 billion 3G mobile subscribers will be in access. Also, think about Wi-Fi. It's persistent. You can go anywhere and be able to find a hotspot that you can log in for free or, of course, pay as you go. Then the third key trend, and this is the most important one, because what unlocks all the productivity are the applications, is the explosion of internet applications. And these internet applications are so vast that they're opening up all of these huge new use cases for end users. A good example here is now end users and the consumer, the aware consumer, they use their smartphone, they use their internet applications in order to be able to search before they shop. So ultimately, what's happening is that consumers are now far more aware and are far more aware than they've ever been before. They're location aware, they're price aware, they have instant access to expert reviews, and more importantly, user reviews, and they can communicate with other users in order to be able to change those reviews real time. At the end of the day, businesses cannot afford not to capture the same technology benefits that consumers have used to become far more agile and aware. So let's apply the same kind of thinking to the workforce. If you think about what are the advantages to the workforce, when you poll the workforce, ironically, the 4 most popular applications that employees want to be able to access are actually internal applications, internal applications that allow them to get the content they need within their business in order to be able to do their job better. Those are applications like VPN, of course, like corporate email, like SharePoint, and of course, file servers. But also, you think about combining that with also the capability for those same business people to be able to get to the applications that they need, to the web-based applications or the internal applications, to their contacts and their emails and all of those other applications. What that enables is a workforce that can also be informed, agile, collaborative, and efficient. And that's the real value that businesses have for really looking at tablets and then deploying them into their enterprise. Now you think about these market trends, these are things that you all know. We all know that we've all been in the industry. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. The hard part is how do customers actually take this technology, integrate it, and then be able to turn that into business ROI. That's the hard part. And then when you think about it, there are a whole lot of pain points and a huge different set of needs within the corporation that have to be incorporated in order to be able to build a good, solid strategy. Just think about the workforce requirements. These are the end users, but also the line of business owners. This is the VP of sales who's asking himself every day, what am I going to do to make my sales force more productive? These are people that want to be able to be always on, always connected. They want their applications on any device, not just one device, because they'll likely have multiple devices. A seamless application experience for that same employee. And they want to be able to have their data on demand. So that's the workforce within these companies. And IT has to be agile. But at the same time, IT has the same challenges that they've had for years, and with more challenges to do more on even less budget. They still have to be able to reduce costs. They still are chartered with securing the enterprise data. It's all good to be able to make your line of business owners and sitting in the CXO office and be able to please the business, but the second a data breach happens, that CIO is going to be, his head will be on the chopping block. So simplifying management and deploying applications that enable this agile workforce, this on-demand workforce, becomes the key pain point for businesses. And quite frankly, in business, there's been largely a slow adoption of this tablet technology. But why? It's because it's hard. I mean, everyone sees the opportunity, but the reality is the market has largely been unserved. And if you think about what are the key sweet spot, what has to be able to happen in order to be able to unlock businesses so that they can capitalize on this benefit? And it really boils down to, of course, you have to have rock solid, built for business devices. You got to have an array of devices that users want and they want to be able to use. You also have to have, and this is probably the most important, is easy application access. It's the applications that drive the value. And it's really the system and the solution that you put together that gets access to that applications that really helps to unlock this. And then ultimately, you've got to be able to satisfy your corporate enterprise. You have to be secure, you have to be manageable, and you have to be able to pull this together such that it doesn't cost an arm and a leg, and you can do that inside of a shrinking budget. So if you think about, and Dell, we've spent a lot of time actually talking to customers. I mean, we launched our first tablet product probably about a year ago. Before that, we spent a lot of time talking to customers and talking to business customers, really understanding what is it that they need in order to be able to utilize this technology. So from 2 billion customer conversations a year, we learned from our customers and really kind of broke it down into 4 major building blocks. We said, okay, in order to be able to capitalize on this benefit, what's the first thing you got to have? Well, you got to have true business usability in your devices. Okay, what's the second thing you've got to have? You got to have capabilities, you got to have services, you got to have partners that will be able to get you to easily access the applications. And then what's the third thing you have to have? Well, if you think about mobility, it's not just about one device. It's about the actual user experience. It's about the experience that you have when you're mobile, and it's about the experience that you have when you're stationary. And if you're a caseworker or a field worker, it's about the experience you have in your car. It's about the experience you have when you go to your customer. And that actually requires an ecosystem of peripherals to really complete that experience and make it very simplified. And lastly, you have to limit impact on IT and actually have the services and, more importantly, the support that can keep that system up and running. So we kind of call this the 4 building blocks. And as we've looked at developing our tablet portfolio and our services portfolio that supports, and our application services that supports that portfolio, we've really kind of held true to these 4 core building blocks. And so let me talk to you a little bit about what are our end-to-end tablet solutions. And you'll hear from Dell a lot, end-to-end solutions. Well, what does that really mean? And it's really meaning thinking about the user profile, about what the business needs, breaking it down into all of the building blocks, and then providing those capabilities in order to be able to help customers customize those together. And so, of course, we have a large portfolio of built-for-business tablets, as well as PCs, thin clients, and other devices. And all of these devices are business rugged durable. And what does that mean? That means it's magnesium reinforced USB ports. It means it's magnesium reinforced plating. It means Gorilla Glass, so the glass doesn't break. We also have long battery life. You have to be able to withstand the same battery for years and be able to replace the battery so that you're not throwing away a tablet in 3 years because it no longer can hold a charge. And it's also about integrated security options. Security options like Dell Data Protection. What does Dell Data Protection do? I mean, it is file encryption. Not just drive encryption, but file encryption. Why is file encryption important? It's because your data that's inside your data center or on a person's end device, or in a person's Dropbox account, or in their personal email account, it's still secured and encrypted. That's Dell Data Protection that enables that security so that IT managers don't have to worry about data leakage across their enterprise. The second big pillar are simplified application access, and this goes to our application support services. And if you think about the ability to have a partner that can help you not only create what your application strategy needs to be, but actually design, develop, build, test, and support your application within your enterprise. But then also all the other partner network that's needed in order to be able to pull these things together, like Microsoft productivity applications, like access to legacy applications. These are all things that aren't entirely sexy, but these are things that IT managers worry about day in, day out. And lastly is really a business accessory ecosystem. This is a full complement of devices that enable you to have these user experiences where you can easily be able to integrate from a mobile environment to a work environment to a stationary environment. And of course, vertical specific accessories as well. And then lastly, robust services portfolio. Actually, Dell over the past 10 years have built up a wealth of services capabilities in order to be able to help customers not only conceive of a project, but actually deploy that project. And so examples of that is, of course, Windows 8 Boot Camp, application development services, and then configuration and deployment services. And then most importantly is supporting it all. You don't want to have your productive on-demand workforce down because they can't access the internet or because their device broke. You want to be able to have on-site support that can take care of that individual and such that the IT department doesn't have to be able to spend resources on that. So if you think about it, those are the 4 key building blocks. And those 4 key building blocks, they have a lot of different elements to them, and they have to be customized to the end user. So in order to be able to really create an end-to-end solution, you can't just say, I have 4 building blocks, go build. You actually have to put it together in a way that optimizes the end user. And so when you think about it, it's the user profile. It's the type of user and what are the types of applications, the right devices that they need. That's the real trick to really deploying an end-to-end solution that's truly optimized and can deliver the ROI that customers are looking for. And at the highest level, if you take all the jobs in Western Europe, I mean, these are like not only professional jobs, but field jobs, any job in the world. You can segment those into kind of 4 classes of users. Of course, there's sub-users underneath that and those kinds of things. But if you think about it, there are task workers. Task workers are, you think about bank employees in a remote office that spend a lot of their day logging into one bank application. Or there's power application users. Think about designers, professionals, people that actually build and create using very powerful applications. And then the third cluster being knowledge workers, kind of people like me, that do a lot of PowerPoint, that do a lot of light office applications and collaboration applications. And then the fourth cluster are really specialized use. Think of these folks as field workers, as people that run retail shops, any sort of specialized use case. Now, each of these use cases, they have an application suite that's unique to the user, that actually brings out what that user needs to be able to do. The second thing is they have a mobile profile. Some knowledge workers are more mobile than other knowledge workers. Most task workers aren't necessarily mobile. And so when you think about it, the right device for that user depends on the user. It depends on the user, what they're doing, it depends on the application, and you need to be able to have technology partners that have the breadth of devices that can help you customize, along with the application support, the ecosystem and peripheral support, in order to be able to build the right optimized solution. And when you think about it, this focusing on the user and the user profile, that's the core of really unlocking the evolving workforce and the on-demand worker. So let's look at how big is this opportunity. So, a lot of people have talked about, the PC industry is shrinking, but if you actually add tablets into that, it's actually increasing quite substantially. And if you think about and you apply that to business, there are 113 million jobs, million end users that have roles that traditionally haven't utilized computing technology, that are still working on paper-based functions. This is an opportunity where a tablet solution can be a primary device to really unlock ROI. And there's also 62 million job roles that could utilize tablets to help augment what they're doing. Either sales reps with a primary device and a secondary device, or professionals which utilize a tablet as a primary device. So when you really take the user concept and really think about what are all the job roles and how much value can be extracted there, the opportunity in front of us is tremendous. So we believe that the evolving workforce and really unlocking the on-demand workforce starts with those 4 things. It's those 4 buckets. It's the building blocks. You got to have great products. You got to have built-for-business products. You got to have application development services. You have to have robust ecosystem in order to be able to pull together the solutions. And fourthly, you have to have the services. But we believe that and then combining that with really understanding your users and clustering your users, that we can actually build and drive value for customers. We can do that for mobile professionals so that they can collaborate better with workers and come up with better and smarter ideas. We believe we can do that for field salespeople so they can better interact with customers. We can do that for field service and claims agents so that they can more effectively manage their cases in the field. And of course, we can do that for teachers that want to be able to use technology to enhance student engagement. And of course, for healthcare, that same technology can use to improve patient care. So you think about it, okay, that sounds like a very good pragmatic approach to building solutions. But I tell you what I wanted to also share with you is some actual case studies where as we've worked with our customers and learned this approach and actually understood what it comes back together, I wanted to share with you some of those stories about how some companies have actually benefited from this technology as well. And I'll start with one company. It's Bayway. It's actually based in Germany. They have operations all over Western Europe. And their business is agriculture, manufacturing, and energy. And they employ a tremendous amount of field-based workers. These are people checking on franchises. These are people checking on energy fields, all people in the field. And their big pain point is they had to connect the front office with the back office. And many of their processes that their field-based workers were using were still paper-based processes. So they had a tremendous amount of error, redo, just an immense amount of cost. So what we did is we sat down with Bayway, and we followed the systematic method that I just talked about. We said, okay, let's profile your users. Let's cluster your users. Let's really understand what is it that they need. And then based on that understanding, we said, okay, let's create an application that can capture the critical inputs from the field. Let's build that application and then deploy it on great tablet solutions that can easily integrate into your network and into your domain. And then we also worked with them to take that application and then integrate it into their SAP and their ERP system so that they could eliminate the paperwork in their processes. And the result was, well, staff paperwork reduced, the accuracy increased, and then manual processing was eliminated. And the bigger benefit for the company was customer service greatly improved. And that's really where the key benefit comes out from really looking at this technology. Now let me use another example from a different sector, actually healthcare. In this example, the use case that the doctors wanted to be able to do is they wanted to deliver radiology images and then share that with the practitioners in the office so that they could better be able to diagnose and triage their patients. And when you think about, I'll contrast this use case with another healthcare clinic that we visited earlier in the year, where that healthcare clinic, they wanted to do the same thing. They wanted to be able to get a specialist opinion on a image that they had from one of their patients. And so what did they do? Well, they used the technology they had. They took their phone, they took a picture of the image on the flat screen monitor, took that image and then hotmailed it to the specialist to get his opinion, and then the specialist called and gave the opinion. So look at that utilization of technology. Poor image, not secure, but ultimately, you know, doctors want to be able to solve their patients' problems. They want to be able to deliver care the fastest way possible. So it's the exact same use case. And in this healthcare example, we followed the exact same process. We sat down with the clinic, we profiled their users, we looked at what it was that these doctors wanted to be able to do, what applications were they looking at. We built with them a application that allowed them to take from their database and render an image on a device, on multiple devices within their office. We supplied them with tablets, and then we integrated that back into their healthcare record system. And then, of course, the result was faster triage, better mobile diagnosis, and also collaboration with their team in order to be able to get to faster diagnosis. So in summary, you think about it, it starts with the broad use cases. It starts with really profiling your end user. And then it really is about the application, the right application, and the services and the capabilities to deliver that application to the users. And then, of course, great tablet portfolio of devices that allows you to be able to customize that with the peripherals and ecosystems. And then, of course, support in order to be able to deploy it and support it. And those two things, the result is the on-demand workforce. And the on-demand workforce is back to those 240 hours of productivity per worker, per year, per job role. That's really what end-to-end tablet solutions can really bring value to businesses. So in summary, Dell is working with customers. We work with customers every day in order to be able to figure out how we can take mobile, connected, secure, and aware processes and then be able to drive more value for our customers. Thank you.
Are there any questions? I thought I'd check just if there are any questions. Hvis det er noen spørsmål på norsk, så kan de også oversettes. Det er ingen som har noen spørsmål. Da sier vi takk en gang til. Thank you very much.
Please. Thank you. Thank you.
Da er det lunsj om 5 minutter ved siden av her, så da er det bare å trekke inn.